So we've already determined what our old way of being is and our true way of being. And what we're trying to do within this 40 days is to recognize when or which state of being that we're occupying, whether or not it's the old version of us or if it's the new version of us, the true version of us, the one that is eternally connected to the source of all things. And what we really want to cultivate over the next 40 days is really strengthening that connection, really recognizing when the power of God plays its role in our lives. One of the things that I found relief in was the understanding that I didn't need to know how things were going to come about in my life. And to me, that felt like a huge relief. What I didn't have a huge relief was on having faith. It's hard to live with something that you cannot see because we are so used to living by our five senses. To us, that's truth. What we see, hear, taste, touch, smell, that is real. Something that we can't see or haven't experienced yet, in our minds, we think that is not real. So we're trying to cultivate this feeling of faith. It really is such a huge part of the process. That's something that we have to build and strengthen because we are walking by faith and not by sight anymore. And that's going to take time. And this is why we have to practice and test ourselves so that we make room for receiving. We make intentional, conscious decisions about where we stand in consciousness because we've been mostly living unaware. We have to live aware. And so today's lesson is about vigilance. What does being vigilant mean? And according to Google and AI, it says to be vigilant means to be actively watchful, alert, and attentive, especially to signs of danger or trouble, with a focus on noticing and preventing potential harm. It implies a state of careful, observant awareness that helps anticipate and avoid negative outcomes. We have to be alert. We have to be watchful. We have to pay attention to detail. We have to be in anticipation of things. And we have to take care. We have to be very careful so that we can avoid potential risks from happening to us. Neville doesn't use the word vigilant a lot. I tried to look it up in his books, and there was only two times, two instances where he mentions the word vigilance. He likes to use the word persistence instead, but to me, persistence means that you're overcoming something. Like it takes a lot of effort to overcome something. It really is about staying grounded in who we truly are. So this is what I love about Neville's work is that, yeah, I'm going to persist through this because I have the strength of God within myself. And, I have all these scriptures that just pop in my mind because I've been repeating them to myself all the time. Things like, with God, all things are possible, right? Ask and I shall receive. Like the idea of me asking, which, by the way, a lot of us don't ask because we don't ask because we don't even think that it's possible for us. So why bother asking? Like we get this idea about what we want to experience in our lives. Wouldn't it be nice to be that person? And we don't even ask. Well, like we stop ourselves even before we ask because we don't have any evidence. We're relying on past evidence to give ourselves permission to ask for things. And if we don't have the evidence from our past, we're like, maybe it's not possible. But I have these scriptures that pop into my mind. With God, all things are possible. If God is for me, who can be against me? These things that I heard growing up, but never truly understood. I may have understood them, but I wasn't living by them. And that is where this practice needs to occur to get back to our true nature, which is love. In A Course in Miracles, it says that you can only be in one of two thought systems. You're either in a state of fear or a state of love. So to me, it's like if I am aware of something, it's like, okay, it can only go in two categories. It's in a state of love or a state of fear. If I allow myself to entertain this, am I empowering myself or am I disempowering myself? We live in a world of duality. Things are always available to us in the positive or the negative, but the positive or negative is only based on the meaning that we give it. Actually, everything in this world is neutral. What triggers me doesn't trigger another person. You have not because James 4, you have not because you ask not. We have to really take stock about where we currently are in consciousness. Miracles are actually our true nature. If we can direct ourselves to believe in that miracles exist, we can direct our minds to thinking that I need to tune myself to the miracles that exist in this world. And miracles, they actually don't take time at all. They are your true nature. The amount of time that it takes us to remember who we truly are as light, as spirit, as a soul, as one with God, that's the amount of time for you to get rid of your doubt, to get rid of your fear and start leaning towards the truth of who you are. Miracles will come faster because you're tuned into your source. We have this great ability to imagine who we want to be and then get in that state, but it we go out into the real world and then we're triggered by everything around us and then we can't hold that state. And so this is why it's important to practice and remember, remind yourself constantly who you truly are. And this, we have to be vigilant, right? We have to be watchful. We have to be alert. Am I being the version of myself that I want to be? You have your two cards, your old way of being, your true way of being. It's like, where are you? Where are you in consciousness? You decide. The key is to stay in this and practice it and learn to make it our dominant state of being. That's what we want. We say that we want to become that person, but then we get pulled out of it. Our job is to get ourselves back in and remain there as much as possible. And again, the longer you can remain in your true way of being, then you will become that person. You become that version of yourself. And then as you make it more dominant to become that way, well, then it's not effort anymore because you are. That's who you are. And I used to be in such a negative state before, always in fear, in lack, and in anxiety, in overwhelm, triggered all the time. And I was not happy. And that was my dominant state of being. And it felt really crappy. And that feeling becomes a habit. So when good things would happen to me, I would be like, how long is this going to last? This isn't going to last for very long. Something's going to mess it up. It's too good to be true. That was the way my thinking was. Then I started to pay attention and I'm like, okay, I'm like more negative. I never thought I was a negative person. I thought I was being good. But when you really pay attention, you'll notice things that you're doing unconsciously. So I started to become more aware. I started bringing myself back. to the new state of being. And as I did that, I practiced and I practiced. And then that state of being eventually became more dominant than my negative state, my old ways. And then being the person that I wanted to be became more familiar to me. And that's what we're doing with this work. We're just allowing ourselves with our mind and our bodies. We have to train our bodies to make these miracles feel normal because if you're in your old way of being, those miracles aren't normal. And we're always going to be pulled back to that, to the old way. But what we want to do through our imaginations, we make our bodies familiar with it. And as you do that, that becomes more dominant. And then when you find yourself out of alignment, you're like, that's strange. And that's where I want to get us to, where being in our true nature of love is now the standard of who we are. And then when we get pulled out of that, out of who we want to be, you're like, oh, you recognize it more easily because now that is not, that feels strange. The old way of being, we want to feel strange. The, and make note, no, that's not where I want to be. And then be vigilant and say, no, I'm saying no to that. And I'm going to return myself back to love, my true state, where all of my power is. Right? So in A Course in Miracles, it says that your consistency is called on despite chaos. And chaos will be all around you. But remember that we have our conscious mind and our subconscious mind. And it's really important to understand how your conscious mind and your subconscious mind work. There's two parts of us, our conscious mind and our subconscious mind. And our subconscious mind, whatever our conscious mind is looking at, our subconscious mind is recording it. And it makes a big impression when there is feeling that is attached to it. So imagine all of the experiences that you've ever had in your life. Next month, I'll be 53 years old. I've had 53 years of experiences and moments. And, when I look back to my childhood, there's not a lot that I remember, but my subconscious mind was recording everything. I remember really great moments in my life, but that's because there was a deeper impression made because it was either really joyful or really painful. But the day-to-day stuff, you're not going to remember, but your subconscious mind does remember all of that. It's really important to understand that your subconscious mind doesn't care what it's observing. It doesn't care. There's no judgment of it. But things that you're dominantly looking at, subconscious mind thinks that that's what you want more of because, you keep looking at it. We keep getting mad or irritated that we're doing this work, but yet our reality isn't changing, and we still continue to look at our reality, therefore not realizing that we are getting more and more and more of it just because we're placing our awareness of it. When we realize that the subconscious mind doesn't understand about what we are experiencing, whether or not it's real, if it's actually happening in our reality or not, or if it's just happening in our imagination, whether or not you're witnessing it or just imagining it, you can call up those same feelings, and the subconscious mind has no idea if that's actually true or not. And this is the wonderful power of our imagination. So we have to be vigilant with number one, being more of our true self, but number two, being vigilant in not being our old self. That's equally as important. So when something in your reality shows up and you're observing it and you're like, wow, no, that I don't want. Thank you, but no thank you. And then realizing that if I continue to pay attention to it, I'm still impressing my subconscious mind with it. So Our job is to turn away from the old state to the new state right away. And we can do that with our imagination and cultivate those feelings that we want to actually feel and create this impression within ourselves. He says the whole of creation is asleep within the deep of man and is awakened to objective existence by his subconscious assumptions. Within that blankness we call sleep, there is a consciousness in unsleeping vigilance. And while the body sleeps, this unsleeping being releases from the treasure house of eternity the subconscious assumptions of man. So he's saying that the whole of creation is asleep within the deep of man. It is awakened to objective existence by his subconscious assumptions. So, what are we planting in our subconscious? Because it, right now, it's sleeping and it will come into existence. And so we need to pray. We need to return back to the being that we are and make sure that we're impressing our subconscious mind with what we say that we want. But you can't do that unless you're really paying attention and being vigilant and saying no to the old man and saying yes to the true us. He says, prayer is the key which unlocks the infinite storehouse. Prove me now herewith, saith the Lord of hosts, if I will not open you the windows of heaven and pour out a blessing to you, that there shall not be enough to receive it. Are we in a state of receiving? Have we prepared ourselves to receive the blessings that are our birthright? Are we making space for it? Or are we blocking these blessings with these lies that we continue to believe about ourselves? And they're lies only because they've been unconscious. We weren't consciously aware of it. Now we are aware. He says prayer modifies or completely changes our subconscious assumptions. And a change of assumptions is a change of expression. The subconscious reasons deductively and is never concerned with the truth or the falsity of the premise, but proceeds on the assumption of the correctness of the premise and objectifies results which are consistent with the premise. So we have to be consistent with it. The subconscious mind doesn't care what we're planting in it. So it's really important when you understand the way that your mind works. Understanding how it works allows us to make better conscious decisions. Are you going to give more attention to your grievances? Well, no, because I understand that I'm impressing my subconscious mind with grievances. And if grievances is dominant within me, then God says, yes, it's grievances that she wants. She must want it because she keeps thinking about it and she's paying attention to it. So this is what she wants, right? And we're like, no, I want to be financially free. But she's always in a state of lack. That's her dominant. It says, man transmits ideas to the subconscious through his feelings. The subconscious transmits ideas from mind to mind through telepathy. This is so important because we're all one. We come from the same source. We don't realizing that we are affecting other people based on who we are being. This is just one thing that we need to understand. God plays all parts and he matches us up with what is dominant in our subconscious mind. So he says the subconscious mind transmits ideas from mind to mind through telepathy. Your unexpressed convictions of others are transmitted to them without their conscious knowledge or consent. And if subconsciously accepted by them, will influence their behavior. And this is so important to understand. We could be having a thought about somebody And is it a thought that you want to have of them? Is that thought the way that you want that person to show up in your experience? And I was like, oh, damn. I have all these nasty thoughts about my spouse, my husband. That was me 5 years ago. I was so dominant with the awful things that I was thinking about him. And for me, it was so easy to blame him for my unhappiness, forgetting that happiness is cultivated within myself based on what I'm thinking, based on what I'm giving my focus and attention to. I knew I had to focus more on my blessings than I did on these nasty things that I thought about my husband. This was my attitude. My attitude really sucked when it came to my marriage. The irritation that I felt towards him instead of the love that I felt towards him was very, very eye-opening when I started paying attention. But meanwhile, my true wish, my true desire was to be happily married. I'm not saying that there weren't moments of happiness. And so I started recognizing things about myself that I wasn't recognizing before. I started recognizing the good things that my husband was always doing. It was always there, but I wasn't recognizing it because of the state of being that I chose to occupy, but I chose it unknowingly. If you're looking for love, well, they say the loveless don't find love because they're in a state of feeling like they're not, that they don't have the love. Well, you want to find love, that partner. Love is all around. Opportunities for love are all around you. Think about it. If you are lacking something, give it away. You become it and give it to another being. And whether or not you're giving it or receiving it, you're still in that state. So if I'm giving love away, well, I will get love back all around us. It already exists around us, but we have to tune ourselves to it. There's money all around us. There's blessings all around us. There's abundance, prosperity. This is equally, there's all the bad shit too. But where are we choosing to put our focus? So we have to be vigilant in that. And that is today's lesson, to just be vigilant. The homework for today is to just continue again to watch yourself like a hawk. Be really mindful of what state of consciousness you're currently occupying. Set an alarm if you want to, even. Set an alarm on the hour, and when the alarm goes off, stop and take a moment to just say, okay, how am I feeling right now? Am I being the old version of myself or the new version of myself, the true way of being? Watch yourself like a hawk. Continue to pray ceasingly, being your true self. Thank you. Remember, we're trying to develop an intimate connection with our source, the source from which everything comes. It's important. I want you guys to remember and remind yourself that there is this light within you, this love within you, and we're just going to do our best to access it in every moment. And then again, to commit to your 30 days. I hope you guys have placed your commitment letter where you can see it. Help remind yourself. I took a course similar to this back in 2021, and I actually have this picture frame that says, I am a child of God. And I didn't even realize that it's been there for 4 years now. It's just fixed on my nightstand to rest in the sleep state as the consciousness of somebody that already has what I want and is who I want to be. Because I knew the importance that your subconscious mind is most open to impression right before you go to sleep in that sleepy, relaxed state. And we're able to place really good impressions about ourselves there. Like, it's done. I am that person. And then I'm going to allow myself as I sleep to sit and rest in that state and solidify that within me. I remember I used to listen to sleep tapes about money. For years, I did it. And I knew that your subconscious mind is open all the time. It never sleeps, but my conscious mind was asleep. So it wasn't there to fight back, to give me all the excuses why I couldn't be wealthy. Because that part of me, when we sleep, that part of us is asleep. But the subconscious mind is still taking in ideas. And I wanted to make sure that I always cultivated that feeling within me. No, it is done. I am that person. This is what it feels like to be that person. SATS is such a super, super powerful technique that if you're not doing it, I would highly recommend you do it. Just right before you're going to sleep, just imagine who you want to be. How would that feel like? How would you act? What would you do? Come up with one simple scene that implies that you are that being that you are, whether or not you're getting congratulated, whether or not you're, if you want, to find a spouse. Imagine what would it be like to be sitting in my kitchen, sitting at the kitchen table, having a coffee with my husband. How would that feel like? That would feel amazing. Well, that one simple scene would imply that I am already that. And then the subconscious mind will bring me some guy that matches who I am in that moment. And I'm not going to want to attract anybody that's negative because we attract people based on who we believe that we are. I want to make sure that I attract the best people. So if you're in the car, don't turn on the radio. Just be still, be quiet. Listen, notice what conversations you're having before you go to bed, when you're sitting on the toilet for a few minutes. Don't bring your phone in with you and sit on the toilet scrolling. Leave your phone out. I'm just quiet, monitoring your thoughts. So, homework, continue to watch yourself like a hawk. Pray, being your true self, remembering the light of the world that you are, and then commit to 30 days of quiet time. The first principle is be still and know I am God. Not you are God. You work in conjunction with this bigger part of you. You're co-creating with God the Father. So commit to 30 minutes a day because it's a relationship. Imagine if you were in a relationship with someone and they didn't give you the time of day. I mean, that would not be a good relationship. That is all for today. I love you guys so much.